going on? Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Morbius. It's Tuesday, which means another episode of Comic Relief. So you know what? Let's just get into this one. Here we go. What's going on, Big Paul?
What's happening, brother?
Salute to you, brother, man. How you been, man? How's it going?
Good. Busy week. Sorry, I got loud neighbors right now. Let me shut this door. I kind of live in the hood.
No worries, man. No worries. What up, Leroy? Let's still gotta give a few minutes. Let the people jumping in. Yeah, man, it's been crazy. I just real quick just want to give a shout out to Pressable Defects. Yesterday was definitely a great show. Kind of anticipated how it was going down, so kind of knew that might get heated at some point. You know what I mean? Especially with some people in the chat. Kind of figured that was coming. If you guys didn't see it, actually, it looked like it posted on my feed as well, my YouTube video. So
cool.
Y'all can check it out. If y'all ain't see the show, make sure y'all check it out on my channel or their channel, Pressable Defects. Hopefully we got into it, guys. Y'all already know with us raw guys talking with all these slab guys, or guys who prefer slabs. It was definitely an interesting conversation, and but yeah, definitely had a great time, man. Had a great time. And let's just see who's in here. Got a little people hanging out with us, not too many today. I guess everybody's busy slapping their books. What's going on, John Comics with Kids? What's going on, brother? I feel like there's a big difference between collecting and reading. I know people that read and don't collect anything. Same in the other way. I just think the best comic fans do both. Facts or best or true comic collectors. Let's take it there. Let's really annoy people with that statement. I mean, people hate that shit when you be like a pure comic collector. They be like, yo, what do you mean by that?
That word pure sets them off.
Pure, fucking like, gets under their skin. You know what I'm saying? Leroy was good, my brother. Salute to you.
Leroy was good.
You already know families in the building. Big Dave, Professor, what's going on, man? Appreciate you, bro. Noticing you've been posting more, man. Nice. You got to post, brother. I know you got that heat. Don't be afraid to post them heats, Professor.
That's it, man.
Oh, man. Of course. Big Sove is in the building. What's going on, Sove? Good to see you.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? Sove is collecting the motherfucking wizard.
I know bags.
The foil logo bag. Like I'm like, bro, you got a problem, brother. You just got a sickness. We're gonna have to do what they call that. Intervention, because brother, this man will collect anything. Like he just needs to collect. He's just like, I gotta find shit to collect. You know what I mean? And that's what's up, man. I appreciate you. So
collecting bags now.
Now we're doing bags. He had me looking for them, man. So
the problem with those bags though, so they're old. Like he said in his post about finding them not all scratched and scuffed up. It's like,
what's going on, man? Exactly, nice, like that's
crispy mylar, man. It just makes
that's we're going in deep on that one, man. It's like solving the 180-181 debate by buying both. Right?
Let's say get both.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? And you know exactly how it went down. But yeah, guys. I mean, real quick, cheers, salute to everybody. If you're in the building, you got a drink. Get your drink on. Salute what he said when Morbius starts.
John's looking for your stick.
He's looking for my stick. High grade book. That's right. I did, man. I really did. I got my stick right here. I always keep my stick handy. Always got my comic stick, guys. I'm never alone without it. I'm always with my comic stick. I invested a lot. Remember, all the finest materials on earth have been put in this. We're still in development right now. We're still working on getting them out. So another couple years, we'll have another stick by then. So 2 sticks by then. But let's see here. So y'all collect how you collect. I keep it obscure. Yeah, exactly. No. That's one way of looking at it. So definitely obscure. That's for sure. You be pulling out the craziness, but that's
Now
what
that
everybody's.
now that I think of it, so I may have some of those bags for you. I still have some of those Wizard half issues that are still in the Wizard bag that I don't really care about. So if I have them, I will hand them off to you next time I see
Yeah,
them.
actually, you know what? I should check my Wizard box. Probably have some too. I haven't even checked because I still have some sealed up. So who knows, man?
Stick Kickstarter.
Stick kick. Hey, man, that's right. You know what I mean? Nothing wrong with that, brother. I'm gonna put it out, put the link out. You know what I mean? Minimum of $100 to start. You know, so we could get the variant stick. Yeah, we spoke. Yeah, man, we got the variant stick. We got the slab stick. You know what I mean? We got the ball stick. We got them all, man. We got them all.
We got mahogany.
Yeah, we got all flavors, all colors, designs. You know, we could customize it too for you guys. But yeah, I mean, this whole concept of like, you know, because this goes back to, I remember when excuse me, when John had sent me that link on the show when he was on the show not too long ago, and it was in reference to that. That's why I brought it up again, because I wanted to talk about it, and especially also being on Principal Defects yesterday, we had that conversation as well, where you realize like, yeah, there's people who collect, you know, and don't read, but it's like, to me, like, I find that so, like, it's hard for me to wrap my head around it, because the whole concept of why you picked up the comic book was to fucking read it, right? That's what I think. You know, that's why I picked it up, was to read it.
Used to be the case. Who knows nowadays, you know, but now they stop buying a slab, which obviously you're not reading the slab. So it's, you know, I don't really know what the motivation would be for some of the people today.
Yeah, like that was my concept. Like, even when I looked it up, I was like asking questions and shit. And, you know, I even fucking went to the AI. I was curious. I was like, you know what? Let me ask the fucking AI chat, right? So I went to the AI chat, and then this is what it said. Check it out. You know, because I was curious. I was like, what do they think? What do they like? What's the process? You know? Hold on one second. Let me go to this chat real quick, because I want to read it verbatim. I don't want to, you know, because definitely I'm not going to remember. So basically, so I asked it, I was like, do comic book collectors read their comic books? And it said, yes, comic book collectors often read their comic books, while some collectors may choose to keep their comics in pristine conditions and never read them, slabbers. And but he said, but mainly others enjoy reading the experience. Oh shit, give me 1 second, guys. I actually ordered some food, so just give me a second real quick. The motherfucker's calling me. Usually they don't call me, but hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Food break. No, actually, I'll bring up, you know, my wife was asking me some questions, you know. She was talking about how she had a hypothetical scenario. So if I sold all my books, which is very hypothetical, but if I sold all my books, but, you know, obviously I still love the stories, the art, the characters. If I just bought like collected editions and omnibuses, am I still a collector at that point, now that I don't really have any of the single issues? So I had to think about it for a minute, but I guess I would say currently at that point, I wouldn't really consider myself a comic book collector anymore, because I'm not collecting any issues or books. I would just have collected editions of stuff I've read, classic stories and stuff like that. So I know a lot of guys collect the omnibuses, which is cool. You know, I mean, they look nice on the shelf, and they still have all the great stories and art. But to me, it's just a little bit different. You know, it's just not, it still wouldn't be, it's not that purest form of like collecting, you know. Yeah. Reading comics. Yeah, you know.
I agree. You know, I agree. So real quick, let me get back. Sorry about this, guy. Yo, shout out. Let me just give a shout out real quick. I see people coming in the building.
Fish, what's up?
What up, Fish? What's going on, brother? Appreciate you. We got Funk Comics. What's going on, man? Thanks for stopping in, hanging out with us. Of course, we got Blue Cow in the building. What's going on, man? Appreciate you guys coming to hang out with us, talking about comic collecting, reading your comics. So let me get back, because I asked the AI, you know, chat about, you know, what like not the definition, but like, you know, do comic collectors read their comics? And it said, yes, mainly often they read their comics often, while other collectors choose to keep their comics in pristine condition, aka slabbers, and never read them, many others mostly enjoy reading and experiencing the stories, the artwork contained in the comics they collect. In fact, reading comic books is often one of the main reasons people become collectors in the first place. Additionally, reading comics can help gain collectors deeper understanding and appreciation for the medium, as well as the history and evolution of comics and storytelling. So there you go. And then I asked, what would be one of the main reasons, why a comic collector wouldn't read their book, keep it. And it said number one would be investment value. That was the first thing it said, investment value. Some collectors view their comic book as an investment in hopes to sell them for a profit in the future. So there we go.
The dreaded investment word.
So AI, even the AI is saying like that's the fucking reason why you get into comic books is because you want to read them. You want to get inside of them. You want to see what it's about. That's the whole premise of a comic book. It's like, you buy a car and you don't even want to drive it. It's like, what the fuck? That's the whole point of getting the fucking car is to drive it.
It does have book in the name,
right?
It's meant to be read,
Meant to be read. It's like I always say, it's like imagine having like, a car in a garage encased in a plastic, and you invite your neighbor over, and you're like, look, I just got it, and they're just like, okay, that's awesome. Like, what do you know about the car? Oh, absolutely nothing. Like, all I know is that it's purple. This is the, the housing. Yeah. And this sticker said it was manufactured by Ford in, 1986. And that's pretty much all I know.
Yeah. It says it has a V8, but I don't really know.
But I don't really know if it's a V8 because I can't open the hood. I can't get inside. I don't know what's going on inside. I don't know anything. Compared to the guy who has the car, and he's like, yo, check it out. Look inside, open it up, smell it. Look at the wood grain. The wood grain came from Italy. The seats actually came from Germany. They were hand stitched. He's breaking it all down to you. Oh, that's a V8 engine. That shit, the alternator, he's just
rev it up. You can hear it.
Rev it up. It's purring. And he takes it out for a spin every once in a while. You know what I mean? To keep it, in running condition. Nothing wrong with that. And but that's how I look at it. It's like, nice. If you're gonna collect, you know what I mean? Like, what's the point? You know what I mean? And then if you're collecting and you're not even caring to read the books, then you know exactly why you got these books. It's not, you're not. It's that. Come on now, it's obvious, So, but yeah, definitely.
Yes, agree with you, Albert. That's a very astute observation.
Yo, what's up, Albert? Just jumped on. What up, fellas? I think collecting comics and reading them are two different hobbies. Correct. I believe that. I believe collecting comics. If you collect comics and don't read them, then to me, I don't really consider that as a comic collector. You know what I mean? That I don't see that as you're collecting comics. I see that as you're hoarding comics and you're an investor or for some other reason. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you're collecting it in the sense of you're bringing them in, but I can't equate those two together. Like, it's like what like Albert just said, makes total sense. I can't see how somebody who picks up books and doesn't read. So it's like, why are you picking them up? It's like, what's the point? Really? Like, why? Like, why you got the books, bro? Please.
Well, I know, like, I think Albert has done it, but I've seen other people too who have been buying like newer issues these past few years. And then once they've read it, or once it's a complete arc or the story ends, then I've seen those guys try to sell those books. Like, they have no more use for them. They've read them, they've enjoyed them, whatever they got out of it, and then now they're selling them. So obviously they're not like a collector. They're not trying to keep that book. They've read it and now they're moving on to the next book.
Right.
Whereas guys like us, if I bought it, I read it, I collected it, I'm trying to get the whole run, I want to finish it, then I want to keep it even after I've read it. That's like a different level.
Right, exactly. And I think that it just, like I said, that to me is the definition of collecting. It's reading, because that's what got you into collecting. For the most part, that's what should get you into collecting comic books. The same thing if you collect cars. The reason for it is because you want to drive them. You want to get inside the car, check it out, look it up, pop the hood. You know what I mean? So if you buy a car just to stare at it, you know what I mean? Just sit there and just look at it. You don't do shit to it and don't know nothing about it. Like, it don't make sense. Keep it and wait for the movie. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then the movie comes all fucked up. Don't even follow the story.
They fuck it all up.
Fuck up the whole
Then the
story.
book drops. All the speculators jump out, and now
Exactly.
you're finding that shit in the dollar bins again.
But yeah, definitely. I have a hard time with that, man. When people tell me like, oh well, I don't read, I just collect books, and it's like, so what's the point? You know what I mean? It's like I don't understand that. Like, other than the fact that it's there's some type of monetary incentive behind it, because I just don't get it.
Always
Right? It says
follow the money.
I said, I'll collect, then read, and if I don't like it, I let it go. If I love it, it's mine forever. Yeah, exactly. Some people could do that. Me, unfortunately, I can't.
Yeah, like I love Wolverine. He's my favorite character. I've
Yeah.
read all his runs. Like buy them, collect them, still
Yeah.
have them. All these last like decade, it's all been shit in my opinion.
Right,
But
and I
still
got
keep
them.
the books. Like
Right, I still have them. I can't get rid of them.
I could get rid of them technically, but
Yeah, I mean, but you don't want to.
and I got that mentality like that. My shit's not complete. I don't have the full run, and that's the OCD kicks in. But
exactly.
I wish I could just let
right, exactly. See, there you go. There you go. Right, that right there is fucking like that's like somebody that's like, yeah, no, I collect Playboy magazines, and you're like, okay. He's like, yeah, but I don't look inside. I don't read them. I collect it.
He bought it for the articles.
For the article, he bought it for the cover. It's like, yeah, okay. Like I buy book weekly and sometimes wait to read them. I just read the story like all I want. Yeah, I've done that many a times with like especially like what Immortal Hulk, and so when Immortal Hulk came out.
Well, that's like a new thing. Like that's the way comics are written now, though.
Right, that's the way it's written
in like 5-6 issue arcs, so then they can sell the trade paperback.
Correct.
Back in the day, it was like month to month. If you were reading like Claremont's X-Men, it was like month to month. Like
you had to pick that up and
you
read
wouldn't let it like stack up. I needed to know. But then back then in the late 80s, the shit was twice a month in the summer. So
yeah, that was rough, man.
What's up, Nigel?
You read, that's why most books are so beat up, because you reread that shit like every other day, especially like on the weekend, Saturday nights, Sunday mornings, you in there in your room fucking reading that book over and over again, contemplating what's going to happen next. You know what I mean? And then you go to the other title to kind of hold you down, because, you picked up a few titles. So you would read the title, then you jump back to fucking this title, definitely great times, man. Senor Justin, what's going on, brother? Appreciate you coming in, hanging out with us. Paul Yankees up.
Yeah, I just saw that. DJ LeMahieu, I think he said he got a single.
Sir.
Getting the updates, and the Celtics are coming on. Oh, they started already, actually.
So. Here we go. Got the sports fanatics. Got the sports fanatics. But yeah, man, Justin, he's a big reader, big collector.
Yeah,
he does both, man. And that's like, and it's almost like starting to become where it's like a rare thing now, man. It's you're running into more of that, oh no, I don't read, I just collect, than actually like reader, or like even what John was saying, people that just enjoy reading and they're not big on collecting. They do mostly like you were saying, trades and omnis, and they just enjoy that, and also because it's just fucking expensive right now to try to pick up all these books and shit, and try to backtrack, and yeah, definitely. I would say I prefer selling comics. I prefer reading comics in a collected form now. I like getting the fuller story. I enjoy the floppies, but trades and hardcores are awesome. Yeah, I've never been a trade or like one omni I do want to get is the X-Men omnis. That's something like it's on my to-do list. Like I gotta get those omnis just to, because this X-Men, you want to have it, and they're great looking books, just to have them like on a fucking coffee table or something, just to have it out. I thought that would be great, but yeah, definitely.
I like Sove's observation up here about the cover collectors. It's they're always the ones getting into the pervy covers by like Adam Hughes or J. Scott Campbell or something. It's all the ones with like
I didn't see that comment.
The chicks with the big boobs on the cover or whatever. Those seem to be the cover collectors,
Right. You got those guys too that just collect artwork. You know what I mean? And that's cool. Whatever. You know what I mean? But like, that's where I feel like that term that we throw around a lot that really irritates people, pure comic book, a pure comic book collector. You know what I mean? Like we do both. You know what I mean? We agree. We agree like on that where, you know, we read and we collect. You know, I think that is the definition of a comic book collector.
But some of it is so much like subcategories too, right?
Right. Then it breaks down into like these divisions.
Either one of us is like a current reader. I don't really read it. Like I buy Punisher and Wolverine. Honestly, I haven't even read them in like 6 months. You know, I keep buying them. So I'm not a current reader. I'm not up on like the new shit. You know, obviously I reread. You know, I still buy books. I recently picked up this Marvel Team Up. It's this Marvel Team Up 43. I've never read that book though, so I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, it's dope.
You know,
that's
something like that. But
yeah, see, it's like those are the shits I love to read. You know, yeah. You saw it now.
Always a shout out to that.
Always a shout out. That always gets salute. Cheers for that one. You know, you can't go wrong with that. So yes, guys, insight. Tell me, let me know. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, man. If anybody want to jump on, just real quick. We're not gonna do a whole fucking show. Just jump on real quick, you know, and just give us a little insight, man. Even if you're fucking, you know, don't matter where you at, man. Just don't be afraid to come on. Let us know what you think real quick. Give us your take on it, whether you agree or disagree. You know, really don't care.
Yo, so I always read Roger Stern stuff. Between Spidey in the 80s, his run on Avengers was pretty great. And actually, it's a trade paperback too. I wish I dug it out, but I'll find it and post it.
Yeah.
His run he did on Captain America, Roger Stern with John Byrne in like the
you always tell me about
around
that.
80. Yeah, it's a great run. There's actually a trade paperback of it I was going to start reading. Yeah. I never really read all that stuff. It has like Baron Blood and stuff. I mean, it's I love John Byrne, so I always read his shit, even if sometimes the stories are corny, but his art will always make it better. But that run, I've heard good things about.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Yeah.
Let's take run.
Bronze, silver, that's where it's at.
Man.
Copper, the 80s, you know, that's when
man.
I started.
And it's funny because that's how I do my synopsis. Like, I have to read the book, like, pretty much the night before, if I already know what I'm pulling, or in the morning. Paul knows, man. 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm over here fucking thumbing through fucking speed reading and shit. It's like fuck, because I don't remember.
His breakdown ready.
Gotta get the breaks down ready. You know what I mean? Man, always a pleasure to see you, Steve. I don't know if you're talking to us or
what's
Justin,
up, Steve? Yeah, good seeing you, brother.
Good, but it's always a pleasure to see you, Steve. Man, for real, man. Always miss you guys. Link is in the chat, man. Jump on, tell us something. Let us know what you thinking. You know what I mean? Keith, yeah, man. Baron Blood. So yeah, man. It's Legion. Salute, man. Appreciate you stopping in, man. Talking readers, collectors. Are they the same? Are they different genres? Or what are we doing here? You know, because we got people who, like we were saying earlier, you know, they enjoy the reads, but they're not really heavy on like the collecting aspect as far as like trying to keep up with runs and shit like that. And then you have people who do, you know, keep up with, you know, with books and stuff, but they're not even reading them. They just buy them and collect them. And that's where I get lost at, because it's like, what are these people picking up? Like, I would love for somebody to break that down. Like, what are you buying and they're not reading like that? You don't even care to read. Like, what is it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm curious. Legion, what's going on, man? Appreciate you jumping on, man.
How's it
What's
going?
happening?
What's happening?
Give us your take, man. You have the floor for a couple minutes. Let us in, man.
I feel like this is a straightforward topic. So it's readers or just buyers? They're all collectors.
Mm-hmm.
They're all welcome in the hobby. They all have their own place in the hobby. Without cover collectors, without cover buyers, where would the market be? Some people collect books and stories. Some people just collect art. You know, it's all welcome.
Yeah. And what's your take on, like, as far as the differences between, because to me, it's like, it's hard for me to understand how someone could get into comics and then not even read them, when the whole basis of a comic is to read it. You know what I mean? It's like, I collect cars, but I don't drive them.
I firmly agree with that. I don't get it.
I don't get it.
I'm lucky. I grew up in the hobby. My dad's been collecting and reading since the early 1960s. So nice. I learned how to read with comics. I was drawn to the characters. I wanted to know what was going on with them.
Right.
But that's just me. I mean, however people find the hobby, they find the hobby. I mean, I don't get how you could sit there and buy a book and be like, I don't want to know what happens in this. That doesn't make sense to
Right.
me. But,
You know,
each their own.
right. And that's my thing is that you spent the time, you spent the money, there's something about it you liked, you know what I mean, that made you want to pick up the book. So then it's like, now you got the book and you're just like, yeah, all right, just put it away in the box.
Yeah, I'll put it in a box and forget I own it.
I'll make a post first, let everyone know I got it, and then I'll just put it in the box and put it away.
Do it for the gram.
Yeah, it's for the gram. It's for the gram.
There it is.
You know, and I think a lot of it has to do with that. I think a lot of it is just people that just, you know, they just want to be a part of it, but they weren't really, I guess, you know, big readers. They didn't care to read the comics. But to be injected into the community and be a part of the community, they're like, well, let me pick these books up. At least I have a conversational piece, I guess. You know, we could talk about stuff and have some sense of knowledge behind it.
For a sense of community. I grew up like, I was born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s. I came up skateboarding heavy, you know, like going to competitions and parks. And I remember like when I hit the high school age, like the two middle schools in my area funneled to the same high school. And I remember there's only a few of us that skated hard at my middle school. And when we got to high school, we saw the skateboard crew from the other middle school. So the first thing we did was planned an outing. We're all going to go meet up at this ledge out back behind roses, blah, blah, blah. And we got there. We were all excited to see how these other kids skate. And we got there. There's like 10 of them. Only one of them skated. The rest of them got aboard and brought it and just stood there. And I think they just wanted that sense of community, like you said.
Yeah. Just want to be a part of it. You know, they want to, you know, feel that camaraderie that they're a part of something. And that's why I feel like a lot of people got into this, you know, as an escapism during the pandemic. You know what I mean? They just needed something, you know, and they got into this. And I know I met so many people that were like, I just started collecting. Like,
oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, shit.
The MCU has to have a lot to do with that, right? Like a lot of people feeling like a nerd, and then they see how like mainstream it's become, like geek culture and nerd culture via their introduction with movies and shows, and you know, get their foot in the door, just buying a few here and there, going to these cons with these connections they made. And but there are some people, and I know some people. There's a guy at my LCS who I have the best time talking to when we cross paths on Tuesdays. He's been collecting for decades, and he just buys covers, and that's it for decades. Wow. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it, and that's why I like to have these conversations and open up, you know, the floor to try to figure this shit out and get some insight from people who are like that, people who are, you know, who don't even care. To me, it just boggles my mind. It's like I always reference it back to like a car collector. It's like a true car collector enthusiast, like he is gonna drive that motherfucker. He's gonna get the car. He's gonna get it all inside of it. He's gonna, you know, he's just gonna break it down, and then he's gonna take it for a spin a couple times.
And he knows the importance of having to crank it every so often at the bare minimum.
It's a bare minimum. You have to keep it right. The same thing with the book. You gotta open it every once in a while. You gotta look at it, you know. And it's like you know what Leroy said. Every time I post a book, I'm reading it before I post it because I like to do descriptions and synopses. And of course, with my age, I don't remember everything I fucking read. So a lot of these books, I got to reread them, you know. And to me, I think that that's what it's about. I think that that's what comic collecting, to me, my opinion. To me, that's what it's about. Even, you know, the whole basis of comic books is reading.
Yeah, John's comics with kids will tell you this. I love to argue. I don't mean fight. I mean like the traditional
debate.
Yeah, I love to argue.
Yeah, me too.
And one of my first memories is, do you remember the Marvel versus DC crossover from the 90s? Like the big famous one where you went to your local comic shops and you got to vote on who you wanted to win.
Yeah.
Is that when Storm beat Wonder Woman?
Right.
Yeah. Which is cool. I mean, that's Jim Lee's X-Men at the time. They're unbeatable.
Or Hulk and Superman. You know, let's not even get in that one.
I mean, I'm an X-Men Marvel guy.
My two favorite characters of all time, like repping hard right behind me.
Don't even get me on that one.
But that fight was fair. It broke my heart as a kid. I think Hulk would have taken that Superman, but it wasn't the right Hulk. That was smart Hulk.
Yeah, that wasn't the right Hulk. That's why I'm like, I'll give it some leeway. It wasn't the right Hulk. But
they both decked Metallo together. But my first memory is like, God, I was born in '87, so I couldn't have been more than 7 or 8 when that came out, kind of thing. And I was literally in the LCS arguing with grown men over how ridiculous their votes were. And that's what I love about reading the comics, because without reading them, you can't have those kind. They don't mean nothing in the world. At the end of the day, everyone goes back to work or back to their life. But man,
look at this here. Was talking comics with a comic guy. Mentioned the art of Big John Buscema. his reaction was, "Who was that?"
Wow.
Like, I'm not really a comic guy after all. Like, that's insane. Paul, you was gonna say something?
No, just the way he kind of explained that, and it's like, because people will say, well, there's different ways to collect and everybody collects in their own way and all that type of stuff. But I would say the thing of it is, to me, that seems like a more hollow way of collecting. Like, you don't even know what happened in the book. You have no like connection to the character, the stories. You just, like you said, the guy's been buying the covers for decades.
Mhm.
Just buys covers. That's cool, I guess, but it's like that to me is like a lesser form or just like a hollow way of collecting the books. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't care what my opinion is, but
I think
it's just like, he's missing a lot of the product by doing that.
I think he's selling himself short is a good way to look at it. Like for him, he might think he's fulfilled. This is doing it for me. Like take it to the next step and look how much this really has to offer.
Right. I think so. This is why I love this conversation when it comes to this with reading and collecting, because it's so diverse. It's so broad at some points, that like what Paul said earlier, it kind of breaks down. Like when you look at comic collecting, it breaks down in so many subdivisions, and categories, but I think at the heart of it, it has to start from somewhere, right? You got to take that from the foundation. I think the foundation comes from reading your book. That's where it starts. Everybody started, they wanted to read it as far as, when comics was in its heyday, let's say. Because now you have a lot of incentives. You have money involved in this. You got people who want to make a living off of it. So obviously these people ain't reading books. They just buying books, flipping them, investors. That's what I call them. They're investors. A lot of times people call themselves comic collectors because they buy the books and then they sell them and then they flip a book and then keep a book. And then it's like, you're not a collector per se.
Do you have a collection or do you have inventory?
Right, exactly. Do you have any runs? Do you got like, what's going on here? So that's how I kind of like break it down. Real quick, we got Albert right here hanging out with us in the back. Let me bring him in real quick to hang out with us. What's going on, Albert? Appreciate you hanging out as always. What's good, brother?
Great to be here. Just start jumping on a little bit. You sent the invitation out.
Yeah, man, definitely, man. Anybody could come on. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna put the invitation again in the chat for anybody who want to come on and hang out with us and shoot the shit. Daryl, appreciate you hanging out with us. But yeah, come on, Albert, let us know, man. What's your take on that? I know you're a big reader, so what's up, brother?
Here's my thoughts on it, because I've been listening to your show for a very long time, and I'm newer to the hobby. I've only been in it for like 3-4 years of like really collecting, going to comic shops, digging. John Buscema, like I was like, oh, I think I know the name for sure. I gotta like try, and I went to Key Collector, looked at the art that he's done, and I'm like, of course I know his artwork. I got Submariner #1 right here.
Exactly.
But I think that the thing that I've learned from really you guys that's really stayed with me as like a foundation to collecting is like, why did you get into it? That's ultimately what it is. And for me, it was, I love the stories. I love the characters deeply. So I'll collect. Like I went to a shop yesterday and I picked up like Champions number 2, 3, 4, 5, and they were $1 each. Right. But I'm not going to read this until I have at least number 1 and I have like at least like 12 issues. Right. Because I'm not going to read like randomly issue number 2. I want to read the full story. So I feel like you can collect comic books, but you're not going to fully appreciate the collection until you read it. Right. And that's the kind of mindset that I have when I'm going out there. Like, yeah, the artwork might be cool, but if I don't know what's happening behind the artwork, it doesn't really let me say, oh, shit.
I knew that name sounded familiar. I hate to interrupt. Dude, thank you. You're amazing. Like, you donated this to Comics Curing Cancer that we put on last year. And I made sure I've watched and participated in all the other streams as well that joined and hosted with us and everything. And John's Comics with Kids had these, and dude, I went hard to get this. I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever.
Thank you.
You're amazing.
I appreciate it.
There you go. You see how I bring the community together here, man. You see? And people
with it. That's awesome. Man.
See, cool. Proof in the pudding right here, guys. That's awesome. I'm still waiting for my Albert.
Yo, what do you want? I mean, is it Hulk? I'm assuming you want Hulk. I got you guys.
So I can write my verses, bro.
There you go. So for me, like, I'm I like to enjoy the hobby in my own way, right? So
Right.
like you guys probably know, like I cut up the books sometimes if they're in like horrific shape, right? I have a book, A Strange Tales, like super old, that has a bullet hole in it, like literally, like there's a hole that's this
tight,
big, and I'm like, this book has very little, I can't even read it, and I'm like, well, maybe I can cut up the work and like present it in a more beautiful way so that it can be appreciated. And I know that that's cringy for a lot of people. I don't know how you guys feel, but for a lot of, but for me, I enjoy the hobby however I do. There's people who collect CGC, there's people who do other things, but I think the best way to ultimately enjoy the hobby is you gotta know the characters, you gotta know the stories. If you don't do that, none of it's gonna feel good.
Yeah,
that's my take.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. That's my dilemma with this. You know, when I have these conversations with people who tell me they don't read, I get lost because it's like you're only going halfway.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's you're not really fully investing in these comic books if you're not reading them. If you're not really getting into them, you're not really getting the full like reward of what these comic books could give you, you know. And I think that that's where people tend to like not understand, of course, because, you know, like we say, everybody has their way, everybody does what they want, but at the end of the day, I feel that the root of comic collecting comes from reading your books.
Yeah,
that's the root of it. You know, if you have a tree, you know, with all the branches that branch off, slabber, flipper, investor, it all starts with fucking reading these books. That's what, if it wasn't for people that were reading these books, it wouldn't be where it's at right now, because nobody would give a fuck about them, because nobody's reading them, nobody's interested in them, because they're like, fuck these books.
So,
you know,
like, you know, was it 2 weeks ago, Spider-Man 7 or 4, whatever, the
Spider-Boy
feature?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys already talked about this, but it was all over my thing. I saw people with like 7 of them in their hands, and I went to the shop. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, hey, you have it here? Like, I'd love to read it. But my full intention was like, I want to know who this character is. I want to know what's the origin, what's the incentives, like what's the interest. There's a million Spider characters. What's so special about this? Why is this so hot? And not a single person is talking about it. And I'm like, this is a problem right here. Like FOMO's one problem. Everybody has it. I get it. That's like, you know, FOMO's part of the hobby, honestly. But if you don't talk about the character and the story and like the reason of the importance,
right,
then all of it just feels like bullshit.
It is. No, I fully agree with it. To me, it's bullshit. You know what I mean?
If you bullshit in this hobby.
And there is, and not only bullshit, but I feel like people are afraid to have certain conversations, because in this community, there's, you know, we say it a lot here. There's a lot of jerk circles. You know what I mean? You know, they sit around in a circle, we jerk each other off, like, oh yeah, you're awesome, yeah, you awesome, even though.
But it feels so good.
Right, it feels so good. Jerking each other, like patting each other on the back, and we're all like, you know, and it's so superficial and fake, and everybody's like, and it's like, no, we gotta. That's not how we're gonna build this fucking community, man. That's not how we're gonna get to the root of these problems, the root of these issues. That's not how we're gonna do this. You know what I mean? We gotta confront them head on and do it respectfully, like we do on here. You know, we're not personalizing, getting personal with people, but we will call out the bullshit. You know, hey, if I'm doing some bullshit, call me out. You know what I mean? If you see me doing some dumb shit, call me out. Be like, yo, Morb, I thought you said you ain't slab, but look at you, you posted a fucking slab. What the fuck is going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to you got to check people, man, because people are doing things and they're not being, you know, checked on it, and they're getting away with murder, like with these flipper, with the acetate covers and all this dumb shit. You know, the reason why people get away with it is because no one is saying to them really directly, like,
he didn't get away with that acetate, did he? He lost his entire business over that.
Oh, he did, right? He did, but everybody who sold that shit, you know, and was buying it, they made their money. You know what I mean? So yeah, the originator suffered from it. You know, at the end of the day, is
that the guy? His wife was
messing
with
That's Clayton. You talking about Clayton Crane's girlfriend?
I think it was
right. All right.
That was bad. That was bad.
That was. I'm sure that was some kind of weird circle jerk of its own before.
That was definitely a weird circle jerk there.
I wish there was like a reality show.
Somebody seriously was getting jerked there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was serious, man. Yeah. But, you know, going back to this whole thing, it's like, I feel like, you know, if we really need to take it back to that essence, you know what I mean? And I feel like everyone should be held accountable for that. you know, in the sense that if you see somebody acting the fool or doing, or like like a flipper, like I saw somebody I knew immediately put up that Spider-Man 7 for sale. You know, they saw that everybody was jumping on it. He immediately put it up for sale. You know what I mean? $50 on IG. He had it up. And you had other sellers who I know personally commented on it, and they were like, bro, that's whack, man.
They're
Like,
selling for, they went for more than that on eBay too, though.
right.
But like, how do you feel about, because like I don't flip comics. I've got like comics that just over time, like I amassed, and they go up on IG for just a couple of dollars just to get them out of the way. But how do you feel about like at the people that actually go in and spec on new books?
I do
buy numerous copies of them just to cap on the sales to fund their actual collection. Because in a sense, like that's cool. You're using the hobby to fund the hobby. It's cool that a lot of money is going to shops. It's cool that it's like helping the industry in the aspect of just pure monetary, but you're having to take advantage of new people, or because there's nobody that paid that price for that book that wasn't taken advantage of, whether they know it or not. Like you got taken advantage of if you paid over cover price for that book.
So facts. I'll give my experience. So like I there was one day I saw that nice house on the lake. I was at Midtown Comics and I bought like 8 copies of #1. And it was the grossest thing I've ever done. I still think about it all the time. It felt super yucky because one, I felt like I was stealing from the store. Because I knew that if I was taking away the opportunity for someone else to get it for $4, right? And then I posted it. I actually sent him to CGC, and I had to wait like 6 months for it to get it back. And that whole time I was like, oh, I'm gonna make money off of this process. And while I'm waiting, I'm watching the show here every Tuesday. And you guys really put it in my head, like I didn't get into the hobby for that. And that whole process of waiting of like this value for a book that's all based off of hype, and like it was all completely artificial. And for me personally, it completely took away the joy of the reading, the stories, the community, and just feeling like accessibility. And again, like what's the point? What's the point of everybody getting a #1 on a slab and everything like that? So from that experience, it left such a nasty feeling with me. That I actually gave it up. But the purpose of it for me was I was trying to make money from it. And it definitely felt, for me, it was like, what's the price of me kind of losing my relationship with the hobby? And yeah, I could make a few bucks, right? But I ended up saying like, hey, I'm not going to be doing that anymore, right? So like like I said, I think that FOMO is a real part of the hobby. And honestly, like, it's kind of fun to see like, oh man, like this trailer just dropped, like everybody's buying this book. Wow. Like it's kind of exciting. Cause everybody, you know, like Paul and Morb, you guys have every book that fucking like every trailer. So I'm looking at you guys with all this envy all the time. But at the same time, you know, again, I have to be realistic about like my role in the hobby, my relationship with the books, with the characters, and like be comfortable with not getting rich off of this, with not profiting. But I was on that side. I hated it. It left me feeling disgusted. And also it made me not want to really be a part of the hobby anymore. And now I'm on the opposite side where I'm like, fuck that. Like I'm going to be dollar bin diving. I'm going to be enjoying the art and the stories, and like sharing that.
See you, brother. See, and I appreciate your transparency. You know, I appreciate that you being, you know, humble enough to admit to that and you know, and put that out there. So because that to me is people need to hear that. You know, I mean, we all suffer FOMO. No one here is you know, invincible to FOMO. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? We're not going to bullshit you and blow smoke up your ass. And I never experienced FOMO. Of course we have. Everybody here. You know what I mean? But the fact that you're able to see it, catch it now, and like be like, hold on a second. You know, that's what's important about it. And also what you said, it's not about, you know, when you sell these books and these flippers, and you're taking advantage of the community is what it is. You know what I mean? I get it. A lot of people just greedy. They just see the dollar sign and they're just like, fuck it. Hey, it's an opportunity to make money. It's an opportunity to fuck somebody is what it is. You know what I mean? Like that's how when they say that, that's what I hear. Yo, it's an opportunity to take advantage of somebody. You know what I mean?
I'm just curious though, like who would buy that Spider-Boy book at like that crazy price?
Go look at eBay last sold. And you're gonna
what kind of a collector are you? To me, you're very suspect.
Dumb motherfuckers that buy.
Like if you were reading that run, that book would have been in your pull list, correct?
If
More
you
than likely.
If you look at some of the biggest traffic channels on Instagram, here, whatnot, wherever. The narrative and the story that's told is use the hobby to fund the hobby. Get out there, buy this. Here's what's going to be hot. Don't for like the people that are coming into the hobby are going to find those big channels first. Like I saw where Screen Rant put out an article of like a top 10 list of YouTube channels to look at to keep up with DC. On that list were just literally the 10, like they searched the top 10 largest audience, and one of them is a troll channel that only talks trash about comics. So the fact that it was even on the list was ironic. You know, they didn't even look into any of the channels, but knowing that new people come in and that's what they find are those larger number of places first, and that's what they're being told. You know, that's why there's 50,000 people trying to sell comics. Like,
right?
Like, you don't get comics at a price that you can sell them for. Like, why are you just like? And that's the same. It's just that's what people think it's supposed to be.
I'll still sell comics, like, but the way I try to do it is I believe it's a healthy way for me. It's like I read, I go to the shop every Wednesday. I buy a run. I bought Human Target, picked it up for like 14 months, and then I'm done with it. Hey, I'm letting it go. I'll buy the hardcovers. I'll keep that in my shelf. I don't care so much for that. I care about the story. I want to have access to the story on my shelf any day.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, it was so good. I kind of regret it. Human Target was really good. But that's how I do it. I still sell regularly. I think it's a good thing to have like a lot of them being out there in the market, out there to be accessible for everybody, because accessibility is the goal, right? Like if you live in Montana and your shop is like 3 hours away, right? Where do you get your book? You got to get it off eBay. So if a lot of people have that mentality of like, I'm just going to exchange this freely. But I think the point is when people abuse it, when people overprice it, that's when it becomes a problem for all of us.
Yes, like what Read Your Comics said in the comment section. He says, sellers are an integral part of the hobby. Modern flippers are an albatross.
That's right. Exactly. You know, and that's where we at right now. Real quick, I know, Sov, you just jumped in. So give me your take on it before I get into it. Let's talk to me, brother.
That's it.
Read.
That's it.
Comics,
read your comic. Daryl, shout out to Daryl.
That's all I gotta say.
Shout out to that. I need to get one of them shirts, man. I need to reach out, grab a shirt, man.
I feel like I need to also.
Hell yeah. Salute, brother. Salute. So, talk to me, man, real quick. Give me your take. I know you're a big reader as well. You know, you're a big collector. So
I've been trying to step back and really try to look at different things and accept other people for who they are and what they're doing. I might not like it. Is somebody a comic collector? It's I think there's a lot more to collecting comics than just physically collecting piles of comics and just, okay, I have these. Like it's a hobby, you know, like you talked about with cars. I agree with you. Like, what's the point of building and restoring a car just to save its virginity for somebody else to go and enjoy it?
Fuck out of here.
Well, like I got a Camaro, blah blah blah. It's got 4 miles on it, and how is it? Like, I don't know. Like, what's the point?
Right? Does it purr?
Why are you? Like, you know, I'm not going to get into the semantics of you know, readers only want beat up copies, but like how do you know how valuable a comic book is if you haven't read what's inside? Like, how can you?
Because CGC puts it on the label.
How did it get that way though? How did it get onto the label?
These labels right here. These labels right here.
Somebody got a hold of the Overstreet price guide and took the information from that, printed it on the CGs.
But think about that though. If you didn't know what's inside,
fan it out.
You don't know why this is so great. You don't understand why this first appearance is as good as it is.
Crack slabs over here.
There's a lot of bad first appearances out there.
Yeah, man.
They're not good, and that's why they're not valuable. Those characters didn't take off. They sucked. So
final. Yeah, but Spider-Boy probably sucks, but everybody was hot and bothered about it 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean?
Like, is
the sad thing is, we don't even know.
I know. Is he? What is? Yeah, like
clue.
So what was the hype based on then? I guess is what I was.
I
asking.
really
First
don't know.
appearance, it's going to be a new Miles Morales.
I think I saw that like Dan Slott or some creator said on Instagram, like, yo, you all need to buy 7, like issue number 6, whatever it is, like pre-order it, and they hyped it up. Like it wasn't an accident. It was like intentionally hyped
So
up.
it was like a manufactured kind of.
Yeah.
Dan Slott put it out on Twitter months in advance.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just thought it was because he looks like a Miles ripoff on the
That's
cover,
what I
right?
thought.
He's
When
got,
I
like,
saw it, I
Jordans
was like,
on,
bro,
some
that
kind of
looked like
sneakers on. I mean,
the sneakers, even the pose, like him with the legs, the way he was jumping.
He's kind of
If
thin.
he's like a Miles and Gwen like kid,
Yes,
like, that'd be cool. Like I'm like, oh, I'm interested. Like that seems like an interesting, like, you know, really. But I literally know nothing.
What if he's a
Nobody does.
cornball?
Like,
What if the guy's a complete
there was people
cornball?
that was like, yo, I've been collecting Spider-Man for 40 years. Who the fuck is Spider-Boy, bro?
Spider-Boy.
Who the fuck is this guy? Like, you know?
I
never heard
of SpiderVerse. There's literally like 40 Spider-Man characters. You know what I mean? And I'm like, they're not all. No, they weren't all given the same treatment. That's why it seems so weird.
Yeah, it's definitely. I think it gets to like it gets boils down to marketing. Of course, they need to make money. They need to create different facets of ways of interest for people to keep interest in their books and different characters and spin-offs. And of course, Spider-Verse was a big fucking money cow for them. So they're gonna try to milk the shit out of that, and I get it. They're gonna try to come up with all these different Spider-Mans, and
we're in Clone Saga territory at this point. It's just overblown.
Yeah, it is, and fine, we get it, but going back to the original topic, it's like what people were saying is like we don't even know this guy. We don't, nobody even cared who the fuck this person is until there was some type of money behind it. You know what I mean? And I think like that's what influences the majority of the community. You know what I mean? It's like once you put a dollar value on something, instantly it's like now you got everybody's attention. Now people
I don't know
want
if
to
it's
know.
the majority, but it's like Legion was saying, these people who are newer to the hobby, they're gonna gravitate to those kind of channels or the people that are kind of pimping that aspect of the hobby. The make sure you get this hot book now before it's worth this much, and that's what makes people run out and buy Spider-Boy for $50 or whatever, and it's like if they just chilled out and sat back and just, observe.
If they would have only got a Turok 1 when it was still affordable, they'd be fine.
It's like, we use that for a coaster at my buddy's house. He's got like a long box of them.
Turok.
Oh, there it is.
There you go.
There it is.
There it is.
Every time I come across them, it's just fun.
There you go. See, and that's what it's about, man. I think that's what it's all about, man. As long as you're having fun with this, you're enjoying it, and part of I think enjoying it goes back to it, guys. Is fucking digging in them, reading them, opening them, looking at its artwork, looking at the dialogue, looking at all the silly shit that back then when you was a kid and you read them, you was like, oh, this is cool. But now when you read it, you're like, oh, wow, that's so fucking childish. It's like so silly, but that's what you love about it.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you love about it. You're just like, wow, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Like the X-Men issue, you know what I mean? I think 112 with, Murder World, when they're in there and they're in a pinball machine. You know what I mean? They're literally inside a pinball getting spun around. You look at that now and you're like, come on, man. Like, really? Like, this shit is so whimsical and like so kiddish. But it's still so cool that's what makes it so cool. You know what I mean? Because it brings you back to that era when you was a kid and you was like, man, this shit is so fucking awesome. And I think for me, it's just so much nostalgia to it that's why I love digging in these books. Because when you look into so many silly shit, like I love the Spidey superheroes. I'm such a big, since I was young, I collect Spidey superheroes, and that's like a Channel 13 PBS show, like from Electric Company, like from like it's so childish, but I fucking love it. Like when I read it, I just seeing spider clones with fucking military helmets getting beat up by Dr. Doom, like it's just silly. It's just
the
silly
abominable snowman stealing your ice cream.
Exactly. Like
how big of a difference do you think that is? That's a good point. Like how it's silly, but it brings you back to that place.
Yeah,
how big of a difference do you think the industry is now? Because most people You know, back in the day, they would get into comics because they were a kid and they wanted a funny book, and it was a childish thing, you know. But in recent times, that's when it's really shifted to like in a more adult hobby. There's always been adults in it, but it's been like a kid entry hobby. You get them when you're kids and you try to keep them. You know what I mean? But nowadays, it's like you got to have money to get into the hobby, kind of thing.
You don't. It's like me. I've seen a handful of teenagers in the shop, but it's rare and few.
Yeah.
Rare and few when you see a 13-year-old in the shop now.
And there's a kid in the shop today, and he was looking for back issues of that Fortnite book.
There you go. You see,
Batman Fortnite book.
Fortnite, right? The crossover. So I mean that, like, you know, when I see that, like, I get like excited. When I see a kid in the shop, I'm like asking them questions. I'm literally like interviewing them. You know what I mean? Because like I really want to see where they're at. Like, what their interests? What brought them in here? Like, what are they reading? You know,
then they break your heart when he's like, I'm just looking for a raw book that could be a 9/8 candidate.
Yeah, I'm just trying to slab and make money, man. Get away from me, old man.
I'm just cherry picking the nicest copies.
I'm trying to use the hobby to fund my hobby.
Right, I'm trying to, you know what I mean? Like,
I work with a bunch of kids who are like 8 to 14 years old. And I go to Zap Comics and I'm always looking through their dollar bin. They have a 50-cent bin. So I'm always like, that's where I pluck everything.
Right.
And I'll ask, I remember I brought in a stack of comics for the kids to pick. And they had a bunch of options and they all left the X-Men comics. And I'm like, why would you leave the X-Men comics? I left some like really good ones in there. And it's because 8 to 14-year-olds have no relationship with X-Men. Right. So it reminded me of like the generational gap of like what characters you exposed to. You know what which ones they wanted? They wanted Flash and Green Arrow because of the WB show.
Mm-hmm. And that's a huge thing. Like that's another thing that's happened with the industry as a whole is you have these corporate giants owning them. And because Disney did not have the film rights to X-Men or Fantastic Four, they intentionally tanked the comics to try to drive funds away from the people who had the rights until they got them back.
They got shoved in humans down our throats.
They knew they were getting 20th Century Fox, so they started pumping X-Men again. Now it's overbloated,
right?
And they got Fantastic Four back, and now we're on like the second run since they got it back, and they literally took it out of the public eye the best they could because they couldn't get their way with it. They're using our hobby as like a bargaining tools for future endeavors and stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they don't really care about the comics. You know, that's
Marvel doesn't.
Insignificant to their overall, you know, portfolio, I guess.
You have the big wigs over Marvel that have already said, like, and this is like, you can go look it up. It's been out for years. They said that they're going to be using their comic stories as proving ground for future film projects. Yeah. That's why so many people are running over to DC, or when they naturally just find a DC book, like, oh wow, this is hitting different. Because DC's their comics are still meant to be read.
Yeah. Right. It's sad too, you know, because like honestly, like I'm not a DC fan. So to see where Marvel is going and where Marvel has been for so long is so disheartening. It's like, man, it's so and it's like no matter what DC does, I will never be a DC fan. Like it's not gonna happen. Like not gonna happen, you know. But
characters are just too corny to me.
I just don't feel it.
Said by people who don't read it. Like you would feel vastly different if you read it.
There's good ones.
That's happening constantly. Like,
you know,
people are sold like Superman who always thought, oh, he's just a Boy Scout and he's overpowered. And then they look at what's been happening for the past 2 years, where it's been so good that it went from 1 running title to now 6 because it's just, dude, the talent's there right now. Like it's just like I get not reading it, but thinking that it's something when it's not. Don't sell yourself short.
Okay, definitely to call you out when you're spinning bullshit. So we're calling you out right now.
There you go. Call me out right now. But like I did collect Batman.
Hey, I mean, I've seen the books.
I did pick up the 52 run. You know what I mean? I enjoyed it. I was reading it, and then it got shitty after a while. You know, and then it was like, all right, then it fell off, and you know, but
you know, so here's what I would recommend. Tom King, he does pretty good miniseries. So I just Human Target is like a really good, like you don't need to know shit. It's very, very just good storytelling in the DC universe. I think it's a really good, like, first step if you were trying to get like a really, really good.
And on top of that, like right now, they're branding stuff with the dawn of DC, and you're getting a lot of number ones, and everything's coming out the gate as 6-issue minis. So they'll get extended if the sales are there. Like if people are reacting. So the pre-sales on Green Arrow went so hard they extended it to 12. Like already today they announced that. So anything that you kind of want to test the waters with just a quick in and out. Let me see if this is corny. Let me see it, like if my preconceived
it's hard, man, because like the only character like a DC that I actually appreciate and like, because I grew up with it, is Batman. You know what I mean? Like I always Superman for me, I don't like Superman. He's so over. It's like it's just OD. Like to me, he's just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like I need somebody that got like weaknesses. I need somebody that got issues, and that's why I like Batman, because he's human. He's just a peak human. You know what I mean? That's all he is.
What's funny is right now DC fans probably feel the opposite, because like right now everybody thinks that like Batman is invulnerable because I mean they're overdoing it with him, and the Superman writing has been spectacular.
He's the most vulnerable character out. That's what people think.
Well, there you go. They probably thought about people like me that were like, "Fuck this guy," because he's just
what it was. It's the quality of a writer. It's literally quality of a writer. Philip Kennedy Johnson is a godsend, and he literally brought Superman back from the Bendis era, and like he made him a vulnerable father, husband. Like he just went to War World and spent like an entire saga over there, depowered. Like just using his morals and who he is to really turn the tide of an entire planet. Like it's indescribable. If you think Superman is overpowered, you haven't read a comic of him. If you think Superman's unrelatable, he's probably the most relatable character on shelves. Just try it. I'm just saying that more for your.
Hold on. Daryl said, because I'm gonna be honest, because like
appreciate the passion, but it's never gonna happen.
Right, exactly. Like, hold on. Let's do an all-star Superman read more. But if you hate it, you can say, okay, we're gonna set this up. I want to do this. I want to set this up. We're gonna read it. Like we're gonna do this, but definitely not Green Lantern. Legion. I know. I see the shirt.
Oh, I got a lot of comic shirts. I can change it. Who do you want me to wear?
Like, there's just certain characters that I cannot get behind, bro, and that's one of them. And there's so many others like Flash. Like I can't stand. Like I just find
John Stewart. You don't like Guy Gardner.
I haven't read Green Arrow since the Longbow Hunters in the late '80s.
Mike
It's been a while. Actually, then the series that came out after that by Grell, I probably read the first.
You know what I mean? It's just like the character themselves. It's not even really like the writing. It's just the character themselves don't draw me in. They don't bring me in. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the Marvel characters.
That's completely fair.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So I think it's not even about the writing, because taste. It's the taste. If this character to me doesn't draw me in, like Flash, like running fast and do like it doesn't do nothing for me. Like it doesn't do like Quicksilver. I could care less for Quicksilver. You know what I mean? Like he's that's his mutant power. Like he don't draw me in either. So I'm not gonna go and chase those books, or that character for that reason. Even though you could write the most spectacular fucking, storyline, I don't care.
It is just the character,
It's boring to me. You know what I mean? He doesn't draw me in as if other characters, of course that, Marvel, I'll push that. But I definitely want to do the read though. We're gonna do that. I'm hold me accountable. We're gonna do that shit. I'm not lying. We're gonna do that, and then I'm gonna tell you guys if it's fucking sucky or not, and I'll be truly honest and transparent. I'll be truly honest and transparent. But we're gonna work on
how it is, Morb.
I will. I'll let you know. You're reading it with me, motherfucker. No, you're not leave me by myself in this shit. I ain't dealing with no DC books by myself. You're gonna fucking ride with me too,
motherfucker. On your own. I would only use that to stop my fire pit in the yard. What's
going on?
How's it going,
Albert? I need you to create me something.
Albert, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for hopping in, man.
Maybe a nice tabletop with all these on it would be cool.
Paul Morb, it's been a long time.
Hell yeah, man. It's been a long time. How you doing, brother?
I won't keep you guys, but I wanted to share a story real quick because you're talking about reading. So back in Paul, you might appreciate this, but
John,
back in '83,
rip you a new one, John.
These came out. I don't know if you remember these.
Oh yeah,
the Neil Adams and Roy Thomas stories.
That's right. It's the reprints of those, right? Which I think are probably the best stories around. Now, I at that time didn't know anything about X-Men. You know, all I had were these. And the particular issue that really made an impression on me was issue 62. So what happened was, obviously, I read the reprints and then I went and got the originals, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in issue 62, what happens is they show Magneto without his mask, his helmet. And me, I had no idea. I knew who Magneto was, but I had no idea in the story as I'm reading it that this dude is Magneto. And at the end, you see the mask. So as a 12, 13-year-old kid and you're reading, it's really dramatic. Exactly. It's mind-blowing. You got it. It really means something to be able to read these books.
Yeah.
Now, you know, everyone collects in their own way and they do what they do, but the stories are genius. You know, so to anyone who's not reading, you know, do yourself a favor, open up those books, crack them open, and
yeah, exactly.
No
Do yourself
doubt.
the service and
That's
read
it.
these books, because I mean, if you look at it too, it's like, think about how these, you know, creators feel, you know, these writers feel like they bust their ass, you know, coming up with these storylines and staying up late nights and working hard for people to read these stories that they're hammering it out constantly. And then to look at these books and be like, nah, I don't need to read this shit. Like, I don't care how much what can I get out of it? Like, I had some, you know, I bet Donnie Cates, when he was coming out with his I think it was the new Venom run, somebody actually hit him up and was like, hey, can you let me know if there's gonna be any, like, you know, first appearances or anything, so at least I know ahead of time to pre-order these? And he was like, so, like, are you even reading them? He's like, I don't read them. I don't really care to. I just want to make sure that, you know, my investment is going to pay off. And he was basically Donnie was like, fuck off. You know what I mean? Like, fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, you're hitting me up to tell me, I don't give a fuck about what you're going to write.
Basically tell me I don't give a shit about your craft. I just want to know
your craft. I just want to know if I can make money off you.
Right on.
That's it.
I get that.
money can
I
I make?
understand that. Sure. It doesn't feel good to be used like that, I guess, right?
Right, and it's fucked up, you know what I mean, and it kind of like downplay all the hard work and the you know the dedication that these people are putting into these comic books, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that it's you know, you're doing them a service. Like, it's the right thing to do. It's like, you know, pick it up, man, read it. And it helps out, especially in a conversation. You know what I mean? It'd be nice to talk to people and they actually know what the fuck
No,
is
you're talking about, right? Sure.
You know, I'm talking about it, and it's not even about, hey, have you seen the GPA? You know, the census on how this book has, you know, value. That's the conversation you hear. Like, you sit down with fucking 75% of these people, and that's all. The first thing out their fucking mouth, the GPA, the fucking census, and this, and how much it fucking went up, and you're like, I don't give a fuck about that, man.
Yeah.
Like yesterday on Principal Defects, shout out to Principal Defects, where they asked me, they were like, oh, what's your most valuable book? I honestly, I cannot tell you that.
Nice job on the show. I watched that last night. That was
yeah, appreciate you, brother. I was like, I don't know.
They put
I
on a
can't
good
tell
show.
you. Thanks, man. I was like, yo, I really can't, because I'm not concerned with those things. I
Morb,
don't,
you know, but
look it up.
Morb, you know, the books you have value. You know that,
Right? We know, we said it. We understand that. We're not foolish. We get it.
I mean,
I
it's
know
not like-
there's some value to it, but that's not the incentive.
I get that.
You
but
get it? That's not like why I
don't-
got it. And
don't-
honestly, when I got them, it was so long ago. They weren't they were $5
we're
books.
fortunate to have been collecting a long time, so we didn't have to.
Right.
Like, I feel bad for newer collectors now because it's hard to get some of those books. They're so pricey.
They're so,
that
and I get it,
couldn't
you
afford
know.
them now, you know?
And we were
I
lucky
understand
enough
that.
to pick them
I
up
get that.
at a cost, you know, when they came out or when they were still a low value book. But
There's a lot of there's a lot of levels to this. So you talk about you know, the guys that you feel bad about that can't get their hands on these books.
Correct.
Okay,
That's why they get the trade.
There's the aspect of, you know, there are reprints, right? I mean, if you can't get the originals, you get the reprints and you read those.
Right.
Right. Now, look, as a kid, I grew up on Marvel Tales, right? I had no idea what I was reading. Like, I read those Marvel Tales thinking that they weren't reprints, even though on the first page it says reprinted from Spider-Man 100. You know, but I was a little kid. I had no idea what I was getting into. You know, so I was reading them, enjoying them. Those reprints are there. If they can't afford to buy the originals, they're going to do the reprints, Paul.
Right. Right. But then now you're talking about somebody who actually cares about the story. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what we're talking about, though. Those people
those people who care they will get that reprint. You know, like
Absolutely.
shout out to Daryl. You know what I mean? These are
Absolutely.
people who
Right.
that was a perfect example where he told me himself, I can't get the original, so I get the reprint so I can read them, and also for his kids, so his kids could enjoy them.
Right on.
You know, and
Yeah.
that says a
Well, that's
whole
even
lot.
like classic X-Men back in the day. That's how I read all those early,
Yep.
you
Me
know,
too.
Claremont
Case in-
books.
Case in point.
Yeah.
I mean, those classic X-Men books opened me up to X-Men. You know, those were my first issues right there. You know,
Right,
those
exactly.
were right off the rack. 1, 2, and 3.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, and it's funny how Daryl said that because Paul knows, like, I wasn't a big reprint guy because my thing was, you know,
Wait, I missed that. What did he say? I hated those what?
yeah, the reprints. He was as a kid, he hated reprints, and I kind of was like the same. You know, I was like not a big reprint fan because I was like, for that I get the original. You know what I mean? Why would the fuck I want to get the reprint? But as I got older, you know, and I started to appreciate the reprint.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And the artwork, because then I was like, hey, you got different cover artwork on here. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, but now the way things are going, I mean, at least it seems, I mean, prices have come down.
Yes, definitely.
Right? Yeah. But at the time when things were really out of hand last year, I thought that those reprints were going to be, you know, valuable. Like everyone would shift and go towards the reprints, and even those would probably be at a premium as well. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you try to get a nice copy of that Marvel Super Action, I think it's 18, which reprints Avengers 57. It's like literally the same cover, same black cover with the red Vision.
Yes,
even that reprint is like a $40, $50 book to get a nice, you know,
look
nice
at
crispy copy.
Even ASM 129, the first Punisher, right? That Marvel Tales reprint, it's up there too. That's not cheap.
Like a $50 book.
Yeah.
It's a $50 book. That's
crazy.
Yeah,
it's not cheap.
That's for this guy when I see him.
Appreciate you, brother.
Say again.
That's for Morbius when I see him. I got 2 copies, so I told Morbius.
Atta boy. That one. Always have 2. You gotta have 2.
I see him. Yeah, that's true. I should post them first, I guess.
But guys, man, let's wrap this up because actually, for those who don't know, at 9 o'clock, I'm gonna be over at Omni X-Men with No Good and John Comics with Kids. We're gonna be going over Wolverine Limited Series issue 3 and 4, which I'm excited about. It's been so long since we've talked about that book, so it'd be great to get back into it and talk about it. So yeah, man, I'm excited, guys. And once again, man, thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody in the chat. You know, this is what I love about this show, man. Anybody could come on here, speak your mind, speak freely. There's no judgment, but there's always going to be an opinion. You know, and that's what it's all about. Everybody has their opinion. Everybody has their way. Everybody has their outlook and perspective. But we all show each other respect, and we all give each other that, you know, that door to be able to walk in and speak your mind and not be afraid to say what it is that you like, but understand that we will be questioning shit, you know, and that's okay. We're going to ask you shit, ask stuff like, hey, why you think like this? Why you see this way? This is why I see it, you know, and that's great. And I think like these conversations are definitely needed, you know, and we should definitely continue having more of these. And that's why I'm not going to stop doing the show every Tuesday, 7:30. Make sure y'all tune in. And shout out to everybody who was here today. And once again, thank you guys for coming on the show, hanging out with us and talking that shit, because I love it. And I love hearing difference of opinions because that's how we learn, right?
Absolutely.
Because everybody has an idea and then you think you know something and then somebody says something and you're like, you know what? Let me give that idea a chance and let me add that to my knowledge and see how I can apply that to my life. You know what I mean? Like I'm about to
when
read
it comes to Superman.
Hey, Ray, you read my mind. I was about to read some Superman right now. You know what I mean? And you reading that shit with me, Paul. Don't fuck it. I don't give a fuck. You reading that with me, Paul.
Not happening, bro.
I'm going to accept your thank you now for after you read it.
What are you supposed to be reading? All-Star Superman? Isn't that
It's just a 12-issue maxi series from Grant Morrison,
right?
Quietly,
So,
which just showcases like the character, really.
I thought Miller did it. What did Miller do? All-Star Batman?
All-Star Batman and Robin the Boy Wonder. That's where I'm the goddamn Batman.
I will. So I'm gonna have you back, Legion. Once we're done reading it, I'm gonna have you back on the show. I'm gonna invite you on, and I'm gonna invite on Daryl. I'm gonna invite on Al. I'm gonna invite all you guys and John, especially you, John. I'm gonna invite you on the fucking show. We're gonna talk about it, and I'm gonna give y'all my true opinion on that series and let y'all know what I think about it. Even though right now I'm very hesitant, but I'm gonna do it. I'm hesitant. I really am. I'm really transparent. I am hesitant, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna hold myself accountable, and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna give you guys my opinion on it. 100% my opinion
I'll
on
be
it.
watching.
Superman Year One, read your comics.
Where we at? Oh, Superman Year One.
Yeah, it was a 3-issue prestige format series under Black Label.
Oh, okay. That is, brother. He's on it. He's on it, brother. He's on it. But guys, once again, appreciate you. Thank you once again for coming on, man. I love this. I love having people on here randomly, just talking and sharing what you guys think. So that's why I brought up this topic, because I knew this topic was something that people would really be interested in talking about, because I think it's very prevalent in the community and it's something that we need to discuss. So with that being said, what's up? Who's gonna say something?
That was the phone chirping.
Oh, okay. So with that being said, we are out of here, guys. Shout out to everybody who's catching the replay. Make sure you hit that like, make sure you subscribe, and make sure you follow these guys. You know what I mean? So definitely appreciate you. And once again, y'all have a great night. Another day, another Tuesday wrapped up. Y'all already know, man. Appreciate you. Y'all be good, be safe, and last but not least, read your goddamn comics.